I'm excited for you today to meet Amber Vanderburg. Amber is the founder of the Pathwayz Group that works all around the world to help companies get better, improve, and she is just an incredible talent, really smart, has a lot of great wisdom about how to improve organizations and leaders. And I want you to meet her today. Get ready to meet Amber Vanderburg, the modern leader. Amber Vanderburg is a multi award winning international business person, keynote speaker, author, and founder of the international learning development company, the Pathwayz Group. And that's Pathways with a Z, which has led over 850,000 learners in more than 75 countries in action focused leadership and team development learning journeys. Amber's history in talent development includes talent development with Adidas Game Day Academy and Paris Saint Germain Academy in Bangalore, India. I'll get the word right. Offering top reviewed online learning courses for platforms such as LinkedIn Learning, Lecturio, and Pluralsight, and acting as HR Director of Paradigm Shift Leadership. In 2022, she published her first business adventure book, Uniquely Better, about building higher team performance. Amber, I am so excited to have you on the program today. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here.
Thanks. You and I run into each other every once in a while. You're from Oklahoma, I'm from Oklahoma. We hit some of the same conferences sometimes and we run into each other. And I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. I'm always mesmerized by your postings because you're all over the world. Every time you post somewhere, you're just somewhere else in the world. We were just talking, you're in New Orleans today, which is my favorite city. I love New Orleans. Um, so tell us a little bit about how you got here. Like, where did you grow up? What did you do in life? And how did you get to this place in life?
Yeah, oh, what a great question. I'll give you the 3 or 5 minute version.
Okay.
So yes, grew up in Tulsa, and yeah, went to school there. I am really fortunate that I grew up in a family where things like leadership development was just a part of our conversation. You and I, we both know my dad, who's also very
Yeah.
involved in leadership
Yeah.
development. So
Absolutely.
it was always something that I got to see just firsthand the impact that it could have. And really, talent development has been a part of my journey from the beginning. I started in HR, was working my way up the ladder there, and then decided to make a pretty dramatic move. And I quit my job in HR to move to India and work in talent development there. So I was working with football clubs or soccer teams in building up their academy system. So preparing your youngest players with the skills, the talent, the mindset to move up for an opportunity to play professionally. And so my first few days there, I was brought to an open field and said, our job is to fill this place with people and help India become a great sports nation. So talk about a bold vision. And
Yeah.
yeah, so had an opportunity to work with coaches all over the world, work with players all over the world, really specializing in European academies in Asia. And so I did that in India, parlayed that into some work in Vietnam and China, in various parts of Southeast Asia, and then came back to the US, took on the role of HR director for a national education leadership company. Was an absolute dream job. Got to travel all over the country, helping mostly with high schools and universities and their leadership development. And really was so grateful to work with a wonderful leadership team and just team of people. But really, my vision and my heart was more in the corporate environment, more in the international environment. And so I actually left a dream job that I loved to chase a different dream. And so I started the Pathwayz Group in, yeah, in 2020. I left my job Um, yeah, I left my job in February, not knowing what was coming in the next few weeks of COVID.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but we navigated through that. Today, I have a team of we have 25 different facilitators. We have a core staff of people all over the world that help with our operations. And David, it's just so much fun. I love what I get to do. And while it does sound like those are different industries, actually at the heart of what you're doing, whether it be HR, I was HR and healthcare, sports teams, schools, all of that is talent development. So you're just helping people become the best versions of themselves. And so that's what I get to do today, and get to help my team do today as well.
I love that. Okay, so there's so many things I want to dig into on that. First of all, if there's anything someone can draw out of what you just said in the last few minutes is you are a brave human. You leave and go to India, and then later on quit your dream job and start your own company. Those are two very brave things that you did. Where does that come from in you?
What a great question. You know, um, I think some of that boldness, it just uh, right now, I'm saying this right now, we are in the midst of some bold moves in our company that I'm glad to
Mhm.
speak about later. And I was telling someone these are the boldest things I've ever done, but at the same time, I think that that comes with practice along the way.
Mm,
Okay, I've done this before. I'm not taking frivolous risk, right? I'm saying,
mhm.
okay, I'm intentionally stepping from this and moving towards something even better. And so part of that comes from that faith that
Right.
there are greater things ahead, that I'm moving boldly in confidence that there is going to be something greater ahead, and also being very grateful for the lessons that I've learned in the seasons I've had in the past. There's been so many people, experiences, opportunities that have been wonderful learning and chances that I can parlay into something else. So in my um, perspective, it's not necessarily leaving something, it's parlaying it into something even greater. Uh, and so yeah, that's my perspective.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so you mentioned going to India, and I wanted to talk to you about that. So, first question is, did you like grow up playing soccer? Like, did you have like the soccer experience that you kind of rolled, talking about parlaying into it, into that move?
Yeah, so I had grown up playing soccer. That was uh, we were an athletic family, so we did a lot of sports, but soccer was my favorite.
Mhm.
And I had been working towards a scholarship in university to play soccer, and had gone to the tryouts, right? Had been speaking with coaches, doing everything you do to get your scholarship. And unfortunately, about a month before signing day, I had gotten a series of concussions. And this was at the
Oh,
point of it was at the point of the world where we knew concussions were bad, but we didn't have
right,
any concussion protocol. We didn't really know what
right,
to do with that. And so
right.
um, I went to the doctor, and they said, contact sports, you can't really do contact sports. I had done several contact sports, so that
Yeah,
took me out of the running of many, many
yeah,
sports that
yeah.
I had done. And so I was so thankful. I ended up walking on to ORU, onto their track and field team, cross country team. I had never done track before in my life. They told me to keep turning left, and that's exactly what I did. And that paid for some of, helped with some of my education, and gave some great opportunities. So I got to travel around, keep on turning left and just run fast. So that's what I did.
That's
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah, but my love was still with soccer. And
Yeah,
so I had wanted to be involved and give back to that community, invest in that community in some way. And so I found that coaching was a wonderful way to do that. And in fact, today, many of our instructional design curriculum development comes from curriculum development that I learned through my coaching licenses and coaching education. And so I had been involved in Tulsa in doing coaching. I had worked with several programs and academies in the US. And so to me, that was just a way to give back. And I honestly went to a dinner one night for the United Nations of Eastern Oklahoma, and someone said, "Hey, I had been involved in the international community. You're involved in soccer. You have this business background. We know of an opportunity in India that they really, whenever I came in, they had let international coaches, five international coaches had left unfavorably before me. So there was some hesitation around cultural competency coming to India. So they said, we just need you to come in, teach, you know, coach in this academy and just really embrace the Indian culture. And that's really what I was hired to do. And I loved it. It came with several challenges, of course. But yeah, my whole involvement with coaching soccer really came from a series of unfortunate concussions. So turning one thing into another.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell us about your book, Uniquely Better, because there's a concept, something happened that caused you to write the book, watching the players on the sidelines. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's a great story.
Yeah. So whenever I arrived in the academy, the culture of India, it's a very hierarchical culture, which is common in many parts of the world. And one thing I noticed is whenever I arrived on the pitch, arrived on the field, the players were in a very strict command control dynamic. So you had the commander, and then everyone else was just doing what what needed to be done. So I noticed that our players, they would stand on a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction, and then they'd stand on a line, kick a ball, wait for direction, and that was how the players were being coached. And that sounds like a very efficient way to teach a skill, but in application, I noticed that some of our players, within the course of a match, within the course of a game, they would kick the ball perfectly, exactly the way they were taught, and then they'd turn to the sideline to the coach for further direction and feedback.
Yeah,
And these players, they were very much mastering the task, but missing a critical, creative, innovative, collaborative part of the game. And so this was not a one-time shift, right? We didn't just say, oh,
yeah,
we're going to change everything all at once. No, this was a process of um, helping players to feel comfortable to ask questions. Hey, there may be more than one answer. And so you've heard me give this example before. So I'll share it here. Rather than stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction, we provide these challenges. So from here, kick the ball to knock down those three cones. Because in order to do that, you're going to have to kick with power and precision. And in a game scenario, whenever you pass, whenever you kick, whenever you shoot, you're also going to have to kick with power and precision. Now, here we ask, how are you going to kick the ball? And the answer could be kicking with the inside of your foot. It could be, kicking with your laces. It could be several answers. And so um, here you have not just one way to kick the ball, you have at least two. And it creates that environment where you can experiment more and you can try. Now, as you can imagine, if we're creating a place where you can experiment and you can be creative and you're trying new things, there's going to be more failure there.
right.
Right? So you're going to not only find multiple ways to kick the ball, you're also going to find out a lot of ways to not kick the ball. And
Yeah.
so, as you can imagine, from a shareholder's perspective, I have, as you can
Hmm.
imagine, the way I look, it was fairly scandalous to have a
Right.
blonde-haired woman in shorts coaching boys on just many,
Yeah,
many
yeah,
scandalous things. And now I'm having coached in a different way. And so
right.
you have parents that have invested a lot of time, a lot of money, and they're very similar to shareholders that you see in a company.
Hmm. Right.
You have the employees, which are your team members, your players that you're trying to coach, and so there naturally was a dip in performance as we were going through this storming phase, and so helping the players to process loss, to process failure and say, I heard this often of, oh, we didn't lose, we learned. That would just kind of brush things under the rug and say, no, 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 that statement doesn't stand on its own. What did we learn? We have to
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what we learned so we can move forward. And so helping them uh, process experimentation and process that innovation while at the same time helping to drive results. Right? It's not conceptual if we won or not. There's a giant scoreboard that says
right.
we didn't win, and so or we did win, and
Yeah.
so helping to drive those results. You have that time, right? You have that time to develop and that time to disrupt. And I don't want to disrupt everything all at once because we have to have some wins, and we also have to have that time to develop. And as a coach, it was finding that balance between the two and creating that space for us to grow. And what I worked with about 13 teams in the time that I was there, and so this was not a one-time incident. This was
Right.
every day, over and over and over, different teams
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
We found that different teams went at different paces, but it took about 6 to 9 months before we really got in the groove of asking questions and trying new things and having that psychological safety and really see that performance improve. It was a long answer to a simple question.
No, that was wonderful, Amber, and you did a good job of tying that in because I see it all the time in the workplace. We don't want people to fail. We always want to hit our metrics and all that, but you're talking about because people all the time I hear leaders say, our people just don't think strategically. They just do what they're told and they don't do anything else. Well, usually it's because we've built that kind of environment. And that's what you experienced. And so now you have to go in and create a new environment where it's okay to fail. They have the psychological safety, but we're doing that in a process of a longer plan. And I love that you talk about it took like 6 to 9 months. A lot of people think, I hear all the time, like, they hire you and me to go in and do training sessions, and they think the next day everybody's going to be better. And that's just not how it works. We can bring things up, we can point things out, we can give you a roadmap, but it's going to take a while for everybody to go through that process and learn to get to where they win. So I absolutely love that. I think it's fantastic.
I'll add on to that of we do experience that a lot. And so then you see some that feel that pressure and then they want to disrupt everything all at once. And
Right.
and that just causes a lot of disruption. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
we find there's this balance, there's this really strategic way of saying this is the reality of where we are. This is the vision of what we can be, and this is the first step. It's
Right.
not everything all at once. We have to take this first step. And there's a reason why we're called the Pathwayz Group. And that's because learning is not one step, it is a journey. And so we really, our programs are not, we'll do a one-off every once in a while, but really our partnerships are year-long partnerships where we say, okay, this is how long it's going to take to see the results that you're seeking. And it's a better investment of time, money, energy, focus,
Right. Right.
to really see those results. Because it is a journey, it is a pathway. It took a long time to get to the point where you are, and it's going to take some time to to refocus and to
Right.
find that
Right.
new footing.
Yeah. You mentioned you named the Pathwayz Group for a particular reason, and I love you talk about this about direction is not. Let's see, direction, not intention, determines your destination. Talk a little bit about that because I think that's so great.
I love that. Yes. Nobody intends to create inefficient processes. Nobody intends to create toxic workplace. Nobody intends to, come these places that we come. And so it, nobody comes into a company, or I've yet to experience somebody coming into a company saying, I really want to create a place where we have inefficient processes or we have,
Yeah.
just people that don't like each other. And um, so it's not so much about intention. It's what steps are you taking and what direction are you going? And one thing that we've found is whenever you're going in the right direction, you may reach your destination. You may find even greater things along the way. You may get just extra, yeah, some extra good things. And so, uh,
Right.
what we do is look and say, okay, the pathway that you're going on right now, that we can see this is where this leads. And this pathway, this leads in this direction. And so it's not so much that there's one single right pathway. In the same way that there's different types of organizational health, there's different types of physical health, right?
Right.
A weightlifter is going to train and act and behave and have a different diet than a runner, than a
Right.
Pilates person.
Yeah.
They're all healthy, but in a different way. And so it's really finding what is what are the steps that you're taking right now? What are the path that you're, the diet, the behaviors? What is it that you have right now? And where is that path leading? And is that the path you want to go? And so it's really, I think sometimes we start this of where do we want to go? And then we ask, okay, but where are we actually going?
Yeah.
What is the direction we're actually headed? I want to go to Disney World in Florida, but I'm actually driving west towards Disneyland in California. Okay,
Right.
let's figure out what we
Yeah.
want to do. Yeah,
Yeah. I love that concept of the path. So, like, we all know that we want all of these things, but what's the path we're going
what's the
down, and
path?
where's that path actually taking us? And
Yeah,
do we need to get on a different path? I think it's fantastic. You also talk about with your company that you help organizations be more efficient, effective, and enjoyable. And I always love a good alliteration. So you've got the three E's there. But tell us a little bit about being efficient, effective, and enjoyable, because I think that's interesting.
yeah. So that's we what we really did is look at what makes the culture of an organization. We found that it was all three of these. So we're a big believer that positive workplaces impact not just the individual but communities as a whole. And
Hmm.
we said, okay, if you have a, you can have a company that is extremely enjoyable, right? Hey, I love to
Hmm.
come here, but we're inefficient. And that can
Right.
cause frustration. That can cause a lack of clarity. And so we'll look at those processes to say, what are the processes to help us be more efficient, not only in productivity, in your bottom line, but also just confidence in my work. I know whenever I have this problem, this is where I go. I know this is going to take this long to process. All right. And there's some confidence and some clarity in your work. We talk about effectiveness, right? We have these great ideas. We talk about having effective performance conversations, right?
Right.
They'll say, Amber, I talk to my team all the time. You actually could spend less time and just make it more effective in the use of your time. Uh, I'll share, we talk so much about financial stewardship, right? Meaning I want to be a steward of my finances, making sure I'm investing it wisely. I'm going to challenge we should be better stewards of our focus and better stewards of our energy and of our time. And that's where effectiveness comes into play of am I a good steward of the energy that I have? And then of course you have enjoyability, right? We could be incredibly effective and incredibly efficient, but just be miserable at where we're at.
Right. Right.
And so we'll look at cultural health from these three major angles. And whenever we look at our services that we provide, it's very much, are we going to help you be more efficient, be more effective, or be more enjoyable? And so that's where that great alliteration came into play.
Yeah. I love it. It's so good. So tell us about you have what you call strategic learning pathways. So explain what that is to people and kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I touched on it a little bit, which learning is not one step. It is a full pathway. And so a few things that we find is a temptation to just come in and do one session, right? And say, okay,
Hmm.
we've talked about this. It's great.
Right.
And
Yeah.
here you're not getting enough results. And so I do use the gym example. It's like going to the gym once and saying, oh, why am I not seeing results? Well, it's a
Hmm.
longer pathway. In the same way that you can have a strategy with training for a marathon, right? you're going to have a strategy for that continuous growth um, as a learning journey for your team. And so I'll go a little bit deeper because it's more on the conceptual. So strategically, there's a few things that um, one, one thing I'm a big advocate for is having less learning objectives per year, right? So too often we'll have companies say, great, we're with you for a year. Here are the 15 objectives that we want
Yeah.
addressed during the year. And
Right.
what we found is what we really advocate for is at least one objective per quarter.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
one objective per quarter. And there's a few positives with this. So the learning objective, I mean, let me give an example. So let's say performance feedback, we can
Mm.
actually break that down to the year. One
Right.
full quarter on setting performance expectations, another on giving performance feedback, another on receiving performance feedback, and
Right.
another on using performance feedback data, right? So that would be an example of
Yeah.
what 1 year, 4 objectives, one topic looks like. And so the benefits of that is A, your learners are going to have extreme clarity on what it is that we're learning. Too often we'll say, oh, we have 12 learning objectives this year. I go, what did you learn this year? Well, we did something about time, something about
Yeah.
communication, or no,
Right.
this year this quarter, I learned about how to set clear, concise, actionable expectations for my team. And that's what I know how to do. From an ROI perspective, I now have clear data to say at the end of this quarter, my learners know how to do this. I've invested this much money, this much time, and this is what I've gotten out of this. It's clear data, it's a clear return on investment, and it gives, again, it gives confidence to your team members. And so whenever I say strategy, that's an example of a strategy that we'll
Right.
use is
Right.
to say, and it's that question of a few levels of what is interesting and what is important, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
interesting, but is this important? And then we'll ask, yes, this is important. Is this priority? Right? There's a lot of
Right.
things that are important. What's priority for right now? Um, and so whenever you do that, you're able to be uh, more clear to the learners and also more clear to your stakeholders, to your business partners. This is what we've invested in. This is what we've gotten out of this. Now, what we'll do then is break that down into micro learning objectives along the way, right?
Right.
So rather than saying, here's the full framework, now practice it, we'll break it down and say, here's part one of the framework. And
Right.
we're
Right.
just going to really go slow first to go faster later. And yeah, so it's taking more of a strategic approach.
I think that's fantastic, and it's not what most people do. So I love that you're doing that and doing it well. That's awesome. I had so many thoughts as you were going through that, and I kept wanting to jump in and say, yes, 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 yes. And so I was restraining myself. Tell us about, I'm curious if you or the company has like a leadership philosophy or a leadership model. One of the things you mentioned at the beginning of our talk was really, leadership is talent development. And that's something that I like live with because I'm the same way as you. I came up kind of in the talent industry, talent development group, and that is such an important component of leadership that often gets left out because instead we use the leaders use team members as the tools of hitting a metric or something rather than developing the people themselves. So you already mentioned that. I think that's fantastic. You can expound on that further if you like, but I'm also curious if you have like an overall leadership philosophy or leadership model that you use.
Um, so whenever I say that I take from the experiences and the leaders and the opportunities from my past, this is a great example of that. So one thing that I saw modeled so excellently is from a good friend that you and I both know, which is Jared Murr. And
Right.
so from
Right.
his great work at Paradigm Shift. And so that actually was the dream job that I worked with. And
Yeah.
so one thing that I really loved from him that I just really was had to include in my company was values-based leadership. And so
Yes.
yes. And so Paradigm Shift does a phenomenal job of, okay, in your first week, you're going to know what our Shift 7 values are. and,
Right.
and that's embedded within our DNA. And I'll tell you, we actually just had two new people start this last week, and we had a meeting today. And I said, okay, what were our values? And both of them were able to say, all right, these are the 6 values that we have.
Yeah.
We have slightly different values than the paradigm shift values. But it's
Sure.
um, one thing that I thought Jared modeled very wonderfully, and that I strive to model in my leadership and within our team leadership, is making sure that your values are so strong that the team can act with confidence, saying, we know this is a part of our DNA. This is who we are. And so if it, rising up to excellence is a part of who we are, then I'm going to do everything I can to do that. And the great thing about this is it's different from transactional leadership, right? That
Right.
says don't lie, right? And so, well, I didn't lie. I just didn't tell the whole truth, right? That's what
Right.
transact. It's that list of rules. A value says I value telling the truth, and so anything
hmm
around that means I'm telling the truth, right?
Right.
I'm not going to compromise on what that value is. And you see the difference between a list of policies and procedures that says don't do this, don't do this, don't do this,
Right.
and rather saying this is who we are. And so um, within within our company, we have yeah, 6 values. They're illustrated not just through words. And one reason why the team members were able to say them back is we gave examples of this is what this looks
Right.
like. This is a picture of what this is. And so I don't know if that really answered your question, other than I strive for my leadership by the people that had inspired leadership in me. And so specifically, Jared Murr was a great source of inspiration in setting values for my company.
Yeah. And you're right. He's great. And I love that concept of being real values focused. It's something I talk about a lot is one is the organization and the people know the values, and then are they in alignment with those values? And I think you brought out some really good points there, especially the difference in espoused values and lived values. Like we can talk about values, but some organizations, they talk about values, they have their values posted on the wall or whatever, but nobody ever talks about them. They don't live them, they don't wrestle with them. And the best organizations I find are the one where when you're in the room trying to make a tough decision, you start talking about the values of the company. Well, we say we value this. So how does that apply to the decision we're trying to make right now? So
Mm,
I love values based
yeah.
leadership. I think it's fantastic.
Uh,
Okay, Amber, one of the things we do on this program is we have what's called the Music Minute. We just hit pause for a moment and we love learning what our guests, the kind of music they like, what they enjoy. I think it just helps us get to know people better. So tell us some of the music that you love, maybe concerts you've been to, artists, favorite albums, whatever. Tell us about the music that Amber loves.
oh gosh. Okay. So I grew up in a very musical family.
Right.
Yeah, David knows. Um, so growing up, it was you don't have to like all music, but you have to learn how to appreciate it, right? Be exposed to it. So
Yeah.
let's see. I'll throw out some concerts I've been to recently.
Okay.
Recently, I went to a great my parents and I we love guitarists, so we went to this great Jimi Hendrix experience. This
Yeah.
had some 18 different guitarists all on stage, just incredible.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I love just instrumental music. Right now, I'm in New Orleans, so jazz, Tulsa, Wayne, and Tisdale. Right, so wonderful
Yeah.
jazz, pop music. Of course, I love good Taylor Swift. Uh,
Yeah.
so to me, I love using music. actually as a focal point of our learning. Because you can,
Right.
I mean, we
Yeah.
learned as kids how to learn through music. And so anytime I can bring in, we recently did a thing about we were presenting different research. And so we put it to the song of Can't Get No Satisfaction, except it was Can't Get No Satisfaction. Um, so
That's fun.
yeah, no, yeah, it's good time. I'll share some. Yeah, so I said shared Taylor Swift. Tori Kelly is a great artist to me.
Oh, she can sing. Yeah.
She can sing. I'm loving this whole new era of her right now. Yeah, just wonderful music. There's a brother sister duo based in New York City called Lawrence.
I
That
love Lawrence so much. I have to
I,
tell you, I saw Lawrence in Lawrence, Kansas, and that was so much
yes.
fun. So it was Lawrence and Lawrence, and they're amazing, absolutely
They're
amazing.
so good. They're so good. I love them. I mean, again, like their latest album, I'm loving all of it. They're on tour right now. There's a band called Wolfpack that I just
Oh,
get on.
yeah, love
Yeah,
Wolfpack.
so I love music. Yes.
So Wolfpack is my number two artist that I haven't seen, but I really want to see. So
Oh yeah.
Wolfpack is number two on that list, and Miley Cyrus is number one on that list. So
Ooh. Oh, I love.
yeah,
See, I saw Miley Cyrus as Hannah Montana way back in the day.
back in the day, that's fun.
Throwback,
Yeah,
throwback. Yeah. Oh, I love it.
yeah.
Volpac, they have a great, I've never seen them, but they have a show online of their show at Madison Square
Madison
Garden.
Square Garden.
Oh,
It's incredible. It's
yeah,
so
she
good.
is so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have a favorite song? Just curious if you have a favorite song. Some people don't, some people do.
Um, no, because it changes so much. I'll tell you, I've really been getting into some older Jeremy Passion, and he has so he's a Filipino American
Okay.
artist, and his older music I really enjoy. He has a song called Lemonade, which is his most popular song. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that I really get into. So that's what I've been enjoying lately.
I'll have
Absolutely.
to look that one up. I don't know him, but I'll have to look that up. I always like asking stuff like that because it helps me learn new
Yeah.
stuff, which I always try and stay up to date on things.
Okay, I'll add one more that
Yeah.
I really good. There's a girl actually based out of Oklahoma, OKC, and her name is Madison Ryan Ward, and she recently came out with a new album. Her old album was great too, but her new album is really good.
What's
She
her
does
name?
Madison
Madison
Ryan Ward. Yeah, and
Ryan.
she does
Madison
different
Ryan.
collaborations with people like JP Cooper and Helen Stone, and yeah, just a great collaborator and incredible vocal control in her runs.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to look her up too. And she's from Oklahoma City. I had no idea.
OKC, yeah.
Nice. All right. There's
There
so
you go.
much
We could
talent in
we could go around
Oklahoma.
music all around.
We
Yeah.
could. We could spend the entire hour just on music. There's so many talented musicians, both legendary, iconic, and not known. But Oklahoma is an incredible place for great music. Lots of talent here. And it's really interesting when you start naming all the real famous people from Oklahoma. People like it kind of blows their minds. They don't realize that Oklahoma is like this hotbed of music, but it really is. Okay, it would be fun to talk about that longer, but we have some other stuff I want to ask you about. You have, as part of your offerings at Pathwayz, you have some real neat programs like you have an HR action certification, you have some DNI, diversity and inclusion training for both employees and leaders. You have training for frontline, middle management, and executive management. Tell us a little bit about all of that and how people access it and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I mean the easiest way is to go on our website or get our contact information. Um yeah, so our pathways, as I've talked about their strategic learning journeys, and so um, yeah, so we have different pathways to really help with that baseline and then um, build up the talent and the confidence and really the collaboration of your
Right, right.
entire team. And so the best way to get in contact with us is either online. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn.
Right.
And then you'll either get a reach out from me or one of our wonderful salespeople. That
Right.
is
Right.
that, and we actually call them sales partners because they just ask some really good questions to make sure that we're not just giving a box. Hey,
Right.
this is exactly what we have. All of our learning journeys are really customized um, for the people that we're working with, and that's something that you don't always get. And the
Yeah.
thing that uh, it's always a challenge to me is giving a box learning whenever it's a relationship and you're going to be building that for a long time. We're working with you for
Right.
a long time. We want to make sure that all the examples are specific to your industry, that they're specific to
Yeah.
what you're
Right.
going through. And so well, that's why we have sales partners to make sure we're actually addressing,
Yeah.
again, being good stewards of your time and being good stewards of focus and energy. I don't know if did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, and we are running out of time. Two more things I want to um, ask you about. First of all, a lot of people are familiar with LinkedIn Learning, and they may not know that you have LinkedIn Learning courses that are available out there. Can you tell us maybe some of those courses and how you got into doing the LinkedIn Learning?
Yeah. So yes, so I have 6 different courses on LinkedIn and then have other courses on industry specific versions of LinkedIn. So like Turio is the
Right.
healthcare version of LinkedIn, Pluralsight is the tech version. Um, so that was something that I formed a partnership with LinkedIn. They reached out
Mm.
pretty early on and said, "Hey, we've seen some of your work. Would you be interested in making some courses?" And just have been really grateful for that relationship. Since then, you mentioned the HR Action certification. We also host learnings on our own platform that
Right.
are a little bit more expansive and interactive as well. So if you go on to LinkedIn, Pluralsight or Trio, and just type in my name, you'll see any of those journeys. Um, you may appreciate this from an instructional point. This may not be for anyone else, but from a writing standpoint, it's a different it's a different approach to writing content. And so with facilitation, you're planning the activities, people are going to be
Right.
obviously very hands-on, very interactive. I don't do a ton of talking. I more ask
Yeah.
questions, right, and
Right.
facilitate conversation as a facilitator. Um, as an online instructor, it's taking these ideas and breaking them down into 2 to 3 minute segments. And
Right.
one thing I've really appreciated in the evolution of online learning is going from standing with a blank background and talking, which is a different writing style to make sure you have 2 minutes and you have an action step in 2 minutes. Uh, to now we're experimenting more with what we call a Sesame Street approach, which is making it more cinematic, making it more engagement, actually creating a world using things like music and props to
Yeah.
have, yeah, not have something that you're just haphazardly listening to, but fully engaged in the storyline.
Yeah. That's very cool. Um, okay. So here's the last question. You mentioned at the beginning, I didn't have this as a question until you said it at the beginning, and then I wrote it down as my final question. You said you're doing some bold moves in Pathwayz. You have some exciting things coming up. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so right now our team is expanding. So we are bringing on some new people. I was telling someone this morning, we brought on some new people that have said, Amber, have you thought about this? Have you done this? I went, no, because you haven't been a part of the team yet, but now you are. Let's let's go. So
Right.
so a few things that we're doing is yes, we are expanding our team to help up the quality of our services. So you're going to get just the same person working with you the whole way through, which I'm just so excited about.
Yeah.
A big vision that I've had from the beginning of starting this company is equipping people to empower others in the places that they live, meaning we have a global reach, meaning we also have a global team. We're not just sending the American over to China. We actually have somebody there that can
Right.
help facilitate learning. And so I love that expansion of our team. Second, we're expanding some of our offerings. We have an EQ in tech certification, that will be coming out. We have a HR for managers coming out. Really, those baselines. Hey, we have managers that they don't need to be HR professionals, but how do you partner with HR? What are the fundamentals that you need to know? And so we have a book and a certification, a course coming out on that. And so
That
just
is so needed. I hope that
so
is
excited.
incredibly successful because it is so needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been working for years on this, and so we're so excited. We, got the publishing deal. Got so that's going to be coming out here in Q1 of next year, and so yeah, expanded team, expanded offerings, really refining some of those offerings. Um, yeah, and those are the two big one things that are coming up for us. I'm just
Well,
so
that
thrilled and don't take it for granted.
yeah, yeah. Well, that is exciting. I think all of what you're doing is a testament to you as a leader, as a passionate individual, going out there hitting all of this, and just kudos to you for all that you're doing because it's impressive and exciting and great work too.
Well, I know you've heard me say it before, and I say it in almost all of my speeches. I'm a big believer that if you can achieve your dreams all on your own, you're not dreaming big enough. And
Right.
these are definitely dreams come true, and they are not just achieved by Amber. There is so many people involved, and their hard work and their innovation, their just ingenuity plays a big role into the success. This is not just the Amber story in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well, Amber, this has been so much fun. You mentioned it earlier, but tell people how they can contact you because I know they're listening to this and they're thinking, wow, we could really use Amber's help. So tell people how they can get in touch with Pathwayz and with you.
Yeah, so you can contact us at thepathwaysgroup.com. And that's again Pathwayz with a Z. You can also reach out to me at Amber Vanderburg. I'm on all the social medias as well. If you want to email me directly, it's amber at thepathwaysgroup.com as well. So those are the best ways to get in contact, either directly through our website, it's going to be the best, or through social media. Come and follow us on social. We try and get some value and some fresh ideas there too.
Yeah, and LinkedIn, like you mentioned earlier, also.
Yes.
Well, Amber, this has been so much fun. We'll have to do this again. We'll have to talk to you sometime when you're somewhere around the world, and we can do an international call or something. That would be fun to do.
Yes. Though for now, you've given me some great places to go in New Orleans. So I can't wait to explore and take all of your recommendations.
Yeah, I love that place. All right, Amber, this has been so much fun. Thank you.
See you. Thanks.
What a fun discussion with Amber Vanderburg of the Pathwayz Group. Be sure to connect with them. Go check out all of the great offerings that they have at thepathwayzgroup.com. And that's a Z in Pathways at the end of Pathways. So be sure to connect with them, connect with Amber on LinkedIn, and I know she can really help you and your organization. We're going to take just a moment and we're going to do a meditative reflection here in a minute. But before we do, I want to remind you that when you go out and rate and rank the podcast, you give it a good ranking, give it a nice review. That is very helpful for letting people know about it. So if you are getting something out of this program, be sure and tell others about it by rating and ranking the program. Also, be sure to check out our website, pendulumcoaching.com, and you can find all of the services that we offer there in leadership, coaching, training, and consulting, and mindfulness, emotional intelligence, all of those things. We are happy to help you any way that we can serve you as well. As we get ready to just do a little time of reflection on the discussion today, I always like to just put my feet on the ground, put my hand on my lap, sit up straight, close my eyes. Of course, if you're driving or doing something that precludes you from any of that, of course, be safe. Let's just take a couple breaths and get us into the mindset. We can inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale. Amber talked about the importance of values as an organization and individuals. I want us to just reflect on that for a moment. Take a couple minutes to just think about what the values are that are important to you as an individual, whether they are things that relate to work, your personal life, your entire holistic life. What are the values that are most important to you? Try and think of 3 to 5 that are real important to you, and just think about those right now. Now think about the values of the organization that you work. What is the culture like? What are the values that maybe they talk about? And then what are the actual values that you see lived out in the organization where you work? Now think about the differences or the gaps in between your values and the values of your organization. And how do you reconcile those? How do you work between those? Are they just minor conflicts or are they major conflicts? So think about the gap between your values and your organizational values. Finally, consider how you are dealing with those gaps. Are you dealing with them well? Are you struggling? Are they not that big? And what can you do to deal better with those gaps between your values and the organizational values? And to finish, let's inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale. One more time, inhale and exhale. You can open your eyes. Want to thank you all for being here today and checking us out on the Modern Leader podcast. Really want to thank our great guest, Amber Vanderburg. And be sure to connect with her on LinkedIn and check out their site at thepathwayzgroup.com. Pathways with a Z. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time on The Modern Leader.